So welcome back. I named this class, Ignite Your Curiosity. Curiosity? I like it. Because I thought like it was too long. Questions about I said, okay. So ignite your curiosity.
Curiosity.
And curiosity.
Great.
Curiosity.
Very
It's
good.
not very easy. Okay. So today we're going to continue. Last week, as you know, we were speaking about this interesting story of Ishmael versus Israel, right? But we started by going around different characters of the story that are important to understand. So we basically like started a decor, and I'm just going to try to find. So last week we saw I wanted to describe first who is Israel, right? So we said Israel is Yaakov Avinu, right? We saw what it means, Israel, Yashar Kel, right? We saw that there is an idea of battling, of fighting, and of being in the path of Hashem, right? That was one thing. We saw the genealogy of Israel, who comes from Abraham Avinu, and that's why we had this idea of bringing in Ishmael also, because he is one of the sons of Abraham, right? So we're going to see that a little bit today also. We saw Yitzhak, we saw Yaakov, we mentioned important problematics and paradoxes, let's say, between the story of Esav and Yaakov. And we saw why there was this conflictual relationship, where it came from. We had some interesting questions about it. Today, I want to, unless you have more questions about Yaakov, Israel, but I want to introduce Ishmael a little bit. Okay? Do you have any questions about Yaakov? Okay, no. So just a little transition, because Yaakov is named Israel. And at the same time, when I speak today about Israel, I'm speaking about a land, right?
Okay.
And a people, a nation. So I just want to transition into who is that nation? And why did we name it Israel? Why not the Bnei Abraham? Why not something else, right? Why Israel? So first, in the Torah, after Yaakov passed, when did he pass first? He passed in Mitzrayim, in Egypt, right? No, go ahead.
Can you? Okay, so, and of course we don't have to do this, but can you tell us about who Sarah was, and then
Sure.
Okay, so like this whole thing, why I reached out to you, was because I felt
Sarah and Hagar.
Sarah waited so long to get pregnant, and we all know what it's like to wait long to get pregnant, what it feels like, how hard that can be. So she was 90.
By the way, little advertising. Tonight I have a Pua event in my house.
Okay.
So you're welcome to join and invite all the friends that you want, because Pua is really the organization created to help Jewish families navigate through the weight of being a parent.
So she invited Hagar to have sex with her husband.
So we're going to see. We're going to go through that. First, I just want to transition on who are the Bnei Israel, and then we're going to come back to Ishmael, and therefore we're going to introduce Sarah and Hagar. Okay? So why are we named Israel? Because we are the descendant of Yaakov. Yaakov and Rivka Rachel, Leah, and the two other
wives,
maids.
right?
Exactly.
Okay. And you had to wait 7 years to marry Leah. Or
to marry
Rachel.
Exactly.
Leah is like,
Exactly. Okay. So basically, Yaakov had 12 boys, 12 kids.
Okay.
They are called the Shevatim. the tribes
Okay.
of Yaakov. Therefore, they are called the tribes because Yaakov is Israel, of Israel.
Okay.
And we are all descendants of mainly two tribes, the tribe of Yehuda and the tribe of Binyamin.
Okay.
Yehuda was the son of Leah. Okay. Binyamin was the son of Rachel. Where are the descendants of the other 10 tribes? We don't know. Disappeared.
Okay.
Yeah. But mainly that's why we're called like Yehudim. Why? Because Mordechai, who was an Ish Yemini, so basically he was a son, well, he belonged to the tribe of
Esther's
Binyamin.
uncle?
Yes.
Oh,
We're going back and forth
Okay.
in time. There's a lot of difference in time, but I'm just bringing back to where we got the name Jewish, because Jewish comes from Yehudim. Yehudim means Jewish. It's translated like that in mostly all languages. Besides, in Italian we say Ebrei,
uh-huh.
Hebrews. We're still called Hebrews. We didn't get that upgrade of
Yehudi.
becoming Yehudim. And in Russian, it's another root also. I don't remember the name. But in all the other languages, we're called Judeos, Jews.
Latin's calls it Yehudeus, you're right.
Exactly. And even in Arabic, we are called like Yehudi, Yehud. Okay, so it's the same.
Okay.
So we all descend from Yehuda somehow. And even those who don't descend from Yehuda, but from Binyamin.
And Yehuda was Leah's son?
Yes, Yehuda was Leah's son.
Was
Rachel's son.
Rachel's son.
She gave birth to him and died right after.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay.
And so Binyamin was, so Mordechai, for instance, was from the tribe of Binyamin, but because all these people, when they left to Babylon, so at the destruction of the first Beit HaMikdash, all the Jews were exiled. That's when we lost a lot of tribes, right? But the tribe of Yehuda and the tribe of Benjamin, they were exiled to Babylon, right? For 70 years between the destruction and the two destructions. That's when the story, exactly, that's when the story of Esther Hamalka and Mordechai happens. And that's when we got the name Yehudim. Before that, we were the Bnei Israel. But when did we get that name of Am Israel? When did we become a nation? And it's very interesting. We are Bnei Israel, which means like Bnei or kids, right? The kids of Israel. Kids are individuals. We were individuals. When did we become Am?
Nation.
One nation. At Har Sinai, the day we got the Torah. This is the day Am Israel became one. It's like a wedding, you know. During a wedding, you have two beings, right? They get married, they become one couple. It's exactly the same. We were a lot of individuals. That day, we united as one. And we are so united that on October 8th, 9th, and since then, we have that pain within us. And we live miles away, thousands of miles away from those who were hurt at the Be'eri kibbutz or any other places, right? But we felt it deep inside. Why? Because we are united. We are interconnected. Kol Israel arevin ze laze. We are all interconnected. There is a little part of me in you. There's a little part of you in her, and etc. etc. We're all pieces of a chain, pieces of a puzzle, and we all belong to one another. And that's also one of the reasons that I love to joke about, that when you go to Eretz Israel and you ask for a direction to someone in the street, you go to Miami, you ask, where is that restaurant? They're going to tell you either I don't know, or they're going to tell you the direction to go to that restaurant. You go to Israel and you say, I need to go to that restaurant. Where is that restaurant? They will tell you, why do you want to go to that restaurant? No, don't go to that restaurant. Okay, go to the other restaurant. I have a friend. Hold on, don't move. I'm going to call. Yeah. Why? Because they care. It's not out of being nosy. It's because they do care. Why? Because somehow you're not indifferent to me. I care about you because I have a little bit of you in me and me in you, right?
My dad used to always say, like, when you meet a Jew, you just feel safe. Like, I don't know, there's something about just like meeting another Jew. You just already have like a level of like safety and trust that, so my dad always says, like, it's Jew. Like,
Why?
gonna
Because
be
it's
okay, because we're one.
at home, exactly. There's a feeling of being at home, labriot, okay? And this is very important. We went out of Egypt. That was a big nisayon. That was very difficult to go out of Egypt. Go out of Egypt just like a birth. Mitzrayim, do you speak Hebrew, Nachon?
Okay.
Okay. So how do you say the contractions of labors?
Like
Tsarim.
Tsarim.
Tsarim. Mitzrayim.
Oh.
Tsarim. It means as the narrowness. Our people.
Mitzrayim, like we came from
Mitzrayim.
pain or from
the
work.
narrowness. From the narrowness. We had to go.
I can read it, but I.
All Romans.
I didn't go to Romans.
Oh, you didn't?
I went to a Jewish
Okay,
school
sorry.
for elementary, and then for middle school, I went to public school.
Mm.
So I can
I
read,
always
I
thought
can
you went to
decode,
Romans.
I can like
Okay.
make sense of a conversation, but I can't communicate.
Yeah. And so it's very interesting to see that we had individuals, and in order to become one, what did they have to do? They had to go through a birth canal somehow. They had to go through a nisayon, and then some of them came out.
Not
and
all of
after
them
that,
went to Israel, right?
20% accepted to come out.
Right.
Trusted,
The
had
rest
emunah.
died in the desert on the way.
They died in Mitzrayim during the
Mitzrayim.
Makkah of Hoshach.
What about people in the desert? That
Yes,
didn't go?
that's another generation. That's after the Chet
Like Miriam never.
HaEgel. No.
I read about it a lot.
And so it's very interesting to think we were born from receiving the Torah. And somehow it's very important to have that in mind, because today we are looking for that Jewish identity, whether because we feel very Jewish, but also because we have been defined and designated and pointed at by many people as you're Jews. I don't care that you're a woman and you're a feminist. You don't belong here because you're a Jewish woman. I don't care that you're an American. I don't care that you're a French person. You are a Jew. And so you're a Zionist. And so you're the. What does it mean? It means that today, even if we didn't realize that we are a Jew before anything else, this Jewish identity is now somehow like, it's the question. Why do they all define us as Jews first, when sometimes people didn't consider themselves first Jewish and then something else, right? We have to understand, in order to understand that identity, Am Israel was born from receiving the Torah. And there is a deep connection between the two. It's inseparable. Inseparable. That said, let's go into the story of Agar and Sarah. Okay? It was an important thing. Jump into something.
No, I'm happy I was patient. Sorry. Sometimes
No, it's right. You're allowed to. That's why I called it ignite your curiosity, because I want everybody to be able to ask questions. Okay. So who was Sarah Imenu? Sarah Imenu was the wife of Abraham. Abraham we described a little bit last week, right? You were there last week. Yeah. So Abraham Avinu was a prophet, and especially the first Ivri, which means the first Hebrew. When was he named Hebrew? Ish Ivri, and it's again very interesting because we're going to see that there is a link between all that, is when he decided to save his nephew Lot against, he had been kidnapped by the kings of Philistine, Canaan, and everything. And
Palestine?
of
Philistine?
not Palestine.
Oh.
There was no Palestine. Palestine was invented by the Romans.
Okay. So what's
But we are
Philistine?
Philistine was like Canaan, all those
Okay.
all those places where they were at that moment around. Okay, but there were kings at that time, and those kings kidnapped Lot,
his nephew,
in order to touch to Avram's power. Okay, they wanted to get him down. Okay, so there was kidnapping at that time also, And Abraham decided to go and fight. But he fought with HaKadosh Baruch Hu against all odds, meaning like he came, he was a shepherd, and he was an old man. He was going to be fighting against the most powerful kings of the area. How would he do that? He placed Hashem in front of him. And he said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, everything is in your hands. And we're going to fight this kingdom. I'm not, you are. You are the one fighting for me. And so that's the story when, I don't know if you remember, but he's going to take some sand and throw it at his enemies, and that each grain of sand will transform into an arrow, and he will defeat his enemies and get back Lot. Okay.
And he
That's
took
the
Sarah with him, right? On
So,
the journey there?
The journey, that's already when he was in, he had
Before.
already
He
been
told
out
her
of
it was his
Mitzrayim.
sister or something?
Exactly. So there is something, if you want, that's after.
After.
But
got it.
now we're going to go back, if you want, to that moment. So where did everything started? It started that Abraham Avinu was from a pagan family. His father, pagan. Yeah. Yes. His father was an idol worshipper and an idol sculptor. He had a store of idols. Okay.
Okay.
But growing up, Abraham never really was satisfied with this explanation of the world. And he said, you're saying that we worship the sun, but the sun goes down at night. And there's another star that comes out, the moon. But who maintains that world in between? Is it the sun? Is it the moon? Is it the tree? Is it the ocean? Is it this? Is it that? And he always felt like this doesn't make sense. And as a little boy, just by his reflection, he discovered HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He is the first one to have this opportunity to discover HaKadosh Baruch Hu through, at that moment, to start building up what is to have emunah in Hashem, to understand, to believe, to have faith that there is one God. And at that time, it was against the rest of humanity. There is one God that created the earth and the shamayim, the skies and the earth.
How far was Abraham from Adam and Eve? How many generations?
So from Noah, it was 10 generations.
10 generations.
So from Adam and Eve, probably 20, something like that, I guess.
Okay.
I have to double check, but I think probably something like that.
Cool.
So Abraham didn't speak with Hashem until he spoke, but he didn't receive any nevuah, any prophecy, before he was later in his age. Someone did before him. It's Sarah. Sarah, since she was a little girl, she was a prophetess. She heard and she could speak with Hashem. And she had a higher level of prophecy than Abraham Avinu. And that's important to understand and to keep it with you, because we're going to speak about Hagar at one point in the rejection. And Hashem is going to tell Abraham, you have to listen to her voice.
Sarah was older than Abraham?
No,
okay.
She was not.
But she
had a higher level of prophecy.
Of like faith. Of
no,
prophecy,
not
like
prophecy is communication, direct communication with God.
Okay, that a prophet directly communicates with God.
That's exactly. God communicates with him, because we can all communicate with God, but God communicates directly with that person.
Yeah, see, I thought it meant that they can receive messages, but can they communicate back and forth, or some yes?
Yeah, there's conversations. When you, for instance, like when you read in the Torah, Abraham asked Hashem, once he got into that communication. Moshe Rabbeinu speaks with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's a lot of prophets who have this conversation.
Okay.
Sarah Imenu is said to have a higher level of communication. She would have heard Hashem before Abraham. Okay, that's one thing, and it's important to understand in order to understand the story between Hagar and Sarah.
So God loved women.
What? Yes, of course.
Blue.
Of course, he does. Of course. When they are born, they are not born as Sarah and Abraham. They are born as Abram
Sarai.
without and Sarai, right? Actually, she
Avram.
was born as Yiska. So she was
Yiska?
beautiful. Yiska is the first real name of Sarai Menu.
What does it mean?
Yiska, which means
Like
that
a
people
skull?
would be in awe in front of her, like would look at her.
Beautiful.
She was beautiful. Sarah was really, really beautiful. That's why she was called Yiska. But imagine with her journey, spiritual journey, it's not just being beautiful. There's something more to it. So at one point, she switches when she's still a young woman, girl, let's say like teenagers, to Sarai, which means my princess. My princess. Okay. And when will she gain that hey that represents Hashem's connection? And Abraham also will switch from Abram to Avraham with that same hey of Sarah and Avraham. It's at a moment in their life where there is going to be a covenant between Hashem and them. The bris of Abraham.
Yeah.
And she becomes Sarah and not Sarai.
Amazing.
But they're older in age already, okay?
Yeah,
but let's go back.
He's so old.
Yeah, let's go back in time and see what happened. So Avram, was believed in Hashem, right? He had faith in Hashem. And he goes through many challenges, many different nisyonot, and he's been tested by Hashem to see if he is the one, yes or no, and if he can really like be that father for the nation. At one point, when he goes through all those challenges and he's successful, what does Hashem do? He tells him, Lech lecha. Lech lecha, which means go for yourself. Go for yourself. And that's the first time he speaks to him. Imagine all those years, Abraham has been trying to connect with God. And now the first thing God tells him is, go for yourself, leave this place, leave behind you your birthplace, the house of your father, and all your life. Take your wife, Sarai, your nephew, Lot, the people who want to follow you, right? He was an influencer, the first influencer, and go for yourself to the country I will show you. I will indicate you. So he doesn't, very interesting, doesn't tell him where he's going. He's telling him, are you first? Yeah, trust me. And are you first able to leave everything behind?
Yeah.
Everything that you've known before, forget about it. Are you able to? Are you able to go for yourself? It's not for me, for you. And they go, and they live, and they walk, and they walk, and they walk. And they arrive in that country that has been indicated to Akadosh by Akadosh Baruch Hu as the country that will belong. So Eretz Israel, but in the Torah it's referred to as Eretz Canaan, okay? But they arrive over there, and believe it or not, there's a huge hunger. There's no food over there at that moment.
Famine.
Famine. You don't say hunger? Yeah, famine?
I knew what you meant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so famine, sorry. So there's a huge famine. And so imagine, somehow like they trusted Hashem, they left their place, they left everything behind, they left a very comfortable life to go and be nomads in the desert, right? And they arrived to that land that was supposed to be the place, and there's nothing to eat. So what do? Hashem tells them, now you have to go to Mitzrayim, to Egypt. Okay, so they go back because it's backwards with everyone. Everybody follows. Like that's a huge test of emunah, right? Because sometimes it happens to us that, we say, okay, I'm going to follow Hashem's ways. But the truth is that it doesn't, I don't see any results. I don't see any positive end outcome. I'm dropping off. I'm not following his ways anymore, right? No, Avram and Sarai and Lot decided to go. So they were tired, really so tired.
They had unwavering faith.
Exactly, unwavering faith. And they were exhausted by their journey. They arrive in Canaan, they leave to Mitzrayim, and on the way to Mitzrayim, before they arrive to that new land that was the most powerful empire of that time, they stop at an oasis in order to refresh themselves, and they are covered with sand. Imagine, they're walking in that dirt, and Avram looks at Sarai. She's drinking water, trying to get out the sand from her face and the dirt and the mud from her, and he says, wow, now they've been married for a long time. You look so beautiful. And so imagine Sarai, you just discovered that, and now you're waiting. Sometimes I'm super well, dressed up and prepared and pampered. You don't tell me that, but now you tell me I'm so beautiful. And he says, wait, we are going to enter Egypt. Egypt is led by Pharaoh, the king. By the way, Pharaoh is a title. So the Pharaoh that we see now has nothing to do with the Pharaoh that we will see when the Bnei Israel go out of Egypt, right? You're so beautiful. We're going to see the most powerful person in the world at that time. You're so beautiful that he will want you, for sure. When we are going to arrive there, and the soldiers will check our belongings and our possessions, they will look at you and they will say, oh my God, this will be the best trophy we can bring to Pharaoh, and we will be upgraded, from little soldiers at the frontier, we will be the most important commanders of the army, maybe. Wow. And they will kill me because I'm your husband. What can we do? Wait, I have an idea. We're going to hide you in a trunk. So imagine the caravan of camels. We're going to hide you in a trunk. And if they ever discover you, we'll say that I'm your brother. So we can ask ourselves, why is he going to lie? First, to save your life. Second, he was her uncle, right? So, yeah. Sarah's father was Abraham's brother.
Yeah.
So literally, it's not a total lie. He could be like the brother. So they arrive in Mitzrayim, and yes, obviously, they open that trunk. They see the beautiful lady inside, the most beautiful woman on earth at that time. And the soldier says, it says in a midrash that all the other women that come after her would look like monkeys compared to the beauty of Sarai. Can you imagine how beautiful she was? The most beautiful lady we see today has nothing compared to her.
Okay.
And she didn't have any Botox and surgery.
No, that's for sure. Not back then.
So natural beauty from the inside out, I guess, and so she's kidnapped. And we have to understand she is kidnapped. She never wanted to go, obviously. She's kidnapped and taken to the palace. She arrives at the palace, and the Midrash tells us that Pharaoh wants her. So when my kids were little and I was telling this story, he wants to get married with her, right? But the truth, he wants her. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to do a nes. Every time he tries to touch her, he bounces back. He can't get next to her. And Pharaoh was a very, very smart person and very intelligent and very knowledgeable. And he said, wait, if I tried many times to be with you and I just can't, is that your God doesn't want me to be with you. And it means that your brother is not your brother. And so he calls Avram and he says, I'm giving you back your wife because your God is so powerful that I don't want to offend him. And not only that, but you are going to be the richest person after me. I'm going to give you so much richness to celebrate the power of your God. And not only that, but I have a daughter. She's a princess. She's been living with me here in my palace. Her name is Hagar. And I'm going to give you my daughter as your servant because I prefer my daughter to serve you, who is chosen by God, rather than she be a princess in my palace. And so that's how Abram Avinu and Sarai go out of Egypt with richness, possessions, food, cattle, of sheep, abundance. They're rich. And they go out of Egypt, showing the world who is Akadosh Baruch Hu. This is a huge Kiddush Hashem. They could have been destroyed, but Pharaoh, that's divine providence, chose even to give his own daughter as the servant of this couple.
You said there were pharaohs that followed after him, right? So how did they not know that the Jews cannot be their slaves, that their God is...
We're speaking about hundreds of years.
It wasn't known, like they didn't pass it on. They only...
It was even maybe 1,000 years after. No, it was known until even Yosef HaTzadik. Yosef HaTzadik was the vice king of Egypt. Yosef is the son, so he's the brother of Binyamin. He's the son of Rachel and Israel and Yaakov.
Rachel. And
Okay.
Rachel's the first one. No, Rachel's the second one. Rachel's the one he wanted to marry.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay. So yes, until and when the book of Bereshit closes and we open the book of Exodus, Shemot, it says in the first lines, this generation ended. Many generations later, a new Pharaoh, a new king, Pharaoh is king, a new king of Egypt raises. He forgot the good that Yosef and all the Ivrim brought to Egypt. And now what does he see? He sees so many Jews, because in Egypt at the very beginning, Hashem made the women multiply. So they didn't have one kid, they had 6, 8, each pregnancy. There was a lot of Jews everywhere.
Each pregnancy?
They had multiple pregnancies, multiple kids. So not in one, at the same time.
Like when you have like quadruplets or
yes,
octuplets.
exactly. Yes.
So they were super fertile.
Like
crazy
Jewish
fertile.
women.
The Ivriot, the Hebrew women, because they were not Jewish yet.
Right, they were Hebrews.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's fast forward, because that's hundreds of years afterwards, right? We're still in Abraham, who is the great-grandfather of Yosef HaTzadik. Okay, so we're at the very beginning of the lineage.
Okay.
Okay.
It's Exodus. Do you want me to correct you or not?
Yes, please.
Okay, it's Exodus, not Exodus. So like
Exodus.
Exit.
Okay. Exodus.
Exodus.
Okay. I never say it in English. I usually say Shemot, so which means the names. By the way, I don't know what it's translated as Exodus, but okay. And in French, it's Exode. So that's why Exode is the same word.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. So perfect. Yes. Please teach me.
Okay.
We're here to learn.
Okay.
You and I. Okay. So now we understand that Hagar is the servant of Sarai.
Okay.
She is a princess.
Was she beautiful?
I don't know if she was
We
beautiful.
don't talk about it. Okay.
I personally don't know. Maybe there are midrashim that describe her beauty, but I don't know. But
Yeah.
what we should know is that she was a princess. Do
Okay.
you imagine how it must be
To be
hard
servant.
Go from a princess
To a
to
to a servant?
Yeah, hard.
Because, and your father decided that for you.
Yeah. You have a choice.
Do you understand? Like there is something already. Imagine like
Pain.
someone, a princess who is suddenly a servant, and she didn't choose for that to happen. So there for sure is here
Judge.
a feeling of like a grudge. How do you say like
Yeah,
a
like judge. Like negative. Like a
Negative.
little bit.
yeah, a frustration, a resentment. Why?
Yes, resentment. That's it.
Why? Like it's not fair. Unfairness, right? So there is something negative there. It doesn't like I don't know if it says that in the midrashim, but we as women we can imagine. Ask a princess of I don't know like United Kingdom to become the servant of
Become a slave or
yeah,
whatever. a servant.
exactly. Even though like they had a very nice way to treat their servants,
Okay.
right? But still, it's a downgrade, right? And now we have to understand that Sarai and Abram have been married for many years,
Okay.
but they have never been able to have a kid. And why? The Torah teaches us that Sarai didn't have a matrix.
A what?
She didn't have a uterus. A matrix. How do you say?
A uterus.
Yes, a uterus. She didn't have it.
And
At
you
all.
need one to get pregnant.
You need one to get pregnant. There was no transplant of uterus at that time, even though I heard by the person from Pua, by the way, that it happened that there was a transfer of uterus, a transplant of uterus recently. Because it says in the Torah, she didn't have a mattress. She didn't have a uterus.
Well, what's a mattress?
A mattress is the mother place of life
Of
in a
life.
woman.
Okay, a womb.
A womb.
Okay.
She didn't have that, okay? So how can she become pregnant? She will never be pregnant. And many times there are references in the Torah on how Hakadosh Baruch Hu tells Avram, you will be the father of a
Right.
very large nation.
Right.
Oh, you will have as many kids as there are stars in the sky, or as there are grains of sand on the floor.
Right.
What do you mean? Like my wife is sterile. She's barren. She can't have kids. But because they had emunah shelema, they had perfect faith in Hashem. Exactly. But at one point, Sarah says, okay, there is this. Hashem addressed Avram, telling him that he will become the father of a nation. And I realize cannot come from me. I can't be a mother, right? So that's why she says, listen, if he's going to be that father of a nation, it has to come from royal lineage, right? We have Hagar. She's a princess. If there is anyone that should become the
mother of this nation.
I don't know, how do we call the
Matriarch?
no, the mother, the womb, the surrogate mother,
Okay.
right? It should be her.
Okay.
Wait, say that again. Why should it be her?
Because she's
Oh.
from royal lineage.
Oh.
She's the servant.
She thought like,
And
if I could choose someone, she looks like
you
the
have to
perfect
understand
son.
the society at that point was like that.
Like
the
they believe that
servant-
that's like
The thing is that there was no surrogate mother the way we see it today, but there were.
handmaids. Wasn't that like the
What is a
whole
handmaid?
So like the whole idea of handmaids, like that whole show, is that like in the
What is
Bible, a handmaid is like someone you choose to have your baby for you, but like
Okay.
lives with you.
So-
like,
okay.
and it's in the Bible, but in like the New Testament, they believe that, I don't know if we learned it, I never learned it, but there was like a term for the woman who you choose to have your husband's baby when you can't have a baby, but then it's your baby.
So in the Torah, it says that they're married, at that time. Yeah, that's why, like, yeah. they had a baby. So basically, like there was no marriage like the way we have today.
But it was her
It's
choice.
it's a different time and age, and it's a different way of living because there was no Torah
Yeah,
revealed at that time.
there's no Ten
Okay?
Commandments, there's no adultery.
Not yet.
Yeah,
Not yet. Okay? And that's not adultery. People have different women. They were married with several women.
Yeah, I know.
It was
I
not
come from-
adultery.
I come from that,
Ah,
on
yes.
my mom's side, because in Iran, with polygamy was totally fine. My great grandfather had 2 wives.
Wow.
Yeah, I come from polygamy, and actually a lot of my aunts married their uncles.
Yeah, it was
Very
somehow
normal in Iran.
it was cultural.
During the Holocaust time, it was very
Hmm.
normal. Yeah. Anyway, keep going.
So we have to understand now we have this Hagar, who was a princess, who has been sold as a servant to this couple because of the greatness of their God, right? By her father, King Pharaoh. And now her mistress, her master says, okay, we're going to get married and we're going to have a child. You're going to be the surrogate mother for this couple, and you're going to become the mother of the descendants of Abraham.
Okay.
Is it an upgrade now for her? Yes.
Yeah.
Suddenly, I'm not going to be. We can imagine the pride growing up again, like in Hagar. So Hagar becomes pregnant, and the Torah explains that when she's pregnant, now she feels very entitled, and she's not really nice with Sarah. She basically has regained her gahava, her pride, and now she's going to make sure that she proves Sarah that, you know who I am?
Courage.
You are not able, imagine,
Right.
you are not able to give a child to
I'm
your
the fertile
husband.
one.
I am the one. Okay.
Wow.
So there is this rivalry that is, you're very good at understanding my English.
I love you're so
Your
cute.
rivalry, this rivalry that is palpable, between those two women.
What a nightmare. At first she can't get that way, and now she has to deal with her.
Now her servant
It's
doesn't
enough.
respect her, thinks she's his wife.
Exactly.
And she's with her nation.
So from that is born Ishmael, right? And it's very interesting that he was called Ishmael because
why?
it means what in
What?
Hebrew?
He's a
Yehi Shma Kel, God.
I heard God.
He will also, they will,
He was also a prophet.
especially is that it means in the future, Shma Kel, they will listen to God,
They will listen to God.
or God will listen
God will listen to them.
to them.
Okay.
And that's very interesting because depending on the interpretation, the role of Ishmael is actually to not him, but the nation Ishmael is actually to put pressure on us at the end of history and to make us cry to Hashem in order for Hashem to listen to our cries.
Like pray? When you say cry to Hashem, do you mean pray?
Scream
Scream.
also.
Beg.
But it says he is it's a nation of violence. It's a tough nation. It's a tough nation.
It will bring us to our knees.
It's an intense nation.
Is that
When we consider the tzniut being
What's
under the
tzniut?
knee, tzniut is modesty.
modesty.
The laws of a woman, how a woman should dress up, knees and elbows, right? They put the full coverage, right? They go to the intense side all the time. So it's intense. It's a battle. It's a very intense nation.
When God said, I'll make you a needle in a haystack, is that what you're referring to? Like, I will make you a nation that's surrounded by nations that hate you.
Yeah,
Remember,
awesome.
someone taught me that once. I will make.
Yeah,
you a
I don't know the needle in the haystack. I never
It's a
heard,
refer- it's
but
a reference, but I don't know if it's like something I learned through people or actual. Anyway,
Okay.
keep going.
so we're gonna finish in 1 minute because the class is done and I have a podcast soon, so I have to rush. But it's very interesting to understand now to set up the foundation of the relationships. Now you understand. Hagar, a pride princess who lost her title to regain some pride. Sarai, kidnapped, unable to give to help her husband fulfill his mission of becoming the father of a nation. Frustration and mockery, rivalry. And now we will see next week what's coming
So we have
up.
to wait a whole week.
Yes. It's like in a series on Netflix. What do you think?